Valencia Mackey. I'm the founder of CRE Lease Talk, and we want you to know the who, what, when, where, and why, and how, and if when it comes to your lease. With that being said, I'm also the author of the 10 Best Practices of Highly Efficient Tenants and Landlords and How to Review Lease Charges. Over the course of the next 2 weeks, I am going to be sharing with you, and I'm so excited, the 10 best practices of highly efficient tenants. And so today I am going to be talking about the number one on the list is being a tenant and landlord, you should negotiate the lease in your best interest. And the only way being a tenant and landlord you're going to be able to negotiate that lease in your best interest is you have to understand the lease. First of all, being a landlord, if you're having your attorney or your advisor draft up your lease, you need to know understand every aspect of that lease prior to leaving your advisor or your attorney's office. In the event he roll over and he dies, or who knows what can say in the future, you want to make sure that you know what's in your lease for yourself. And also you want to make sure it's written out to where in the event it does go before a judge, that the judge can clearly see what you're trying to state in the lease. So you want to make sure it's crystal clear. Also, if you're using a standard lease, landlord, you might go pull one off the shelf. You want to still get your advisor or your attorney to review that for you because you want to make sure that you're covered. I mean, there are issues that come up in court every day in regards to lease matters. And so you want to have someone review that lease to make sure that you're covered legally or your best interests are taken care of. Tenants, you want to make sure that you understand the lease prior to signing off on it. You want to take that lease home. You want to read over it again. Read to understand. Sleep on it, get up and read it again, get with your advisor if there's something that you don't clearly understand, and then take it back to the table, get a clarification from the landlord or the property management company as to what the lease is trying to say. And if they tell you one thing but the lease it's not stating what they're stating, then have that lease modified prior to the execution of that document. Just make sure that your interests are covered. And in some events, if you're a smaller tenant, you don't have that much negotiating power like a larger tenant would, then you just want to make sure that you clearly understand each and every one of those provisions. In the event that something happened, you are not clueless because it can truly come back and bite, although the chances of that happening may not happen to you. You still want to make sure that you're covered and you understand every provision in that lease. And property management companies, likewise, if you're going to be handling someone's asset, you want to make sure that you know and you understand every provision that are in those leases, those leases. But you don't want those to come back and bite you where you overlook something and then the landlord, they're in court. So you want to make sure that you thoroughly understand those leases because it all boils down at the end of the day to what's in the lease. Unlike with a residential for an apartment, those contracts are pretty much standard. However, those folks have various laws to back them up in the event they have to go to court or something. The judge have a much more bigger say in with the various laws as to on the rulings. Whereas with the commercial tenants, it is understood that intelligent individuals have come together and they've sat down and they've pretty much rationalized each provision and figured on what's in the best interest of both parties, and then they signed off on it. So you want to make sure that you cover and you thoroughly understand what's in those in that lease, because sometimes being a landlord, you think that your attorney, once again, I cannot stress the importance of you knowing what's in your lease. You think that your advisor or your attorney have drafted that lease in your best interest and it goes before a judge and he throws it out because of ambiguity. You don't want that, and then you end up losing because you thought you were covered. You want to make sure that in the event that it does have to go before a judge, that the judge will rule in your best interest, that he's clear on what he's reading. So that is the number one. The number one, because if you know the number one, all the other ones, all the other best practices, they are going to fall into place. So the number one thing is tenant and landlord. Negotiate that lease in your best interest. And being a smaller tenant, if you can't negotiate or you don't have that much negotiation power, understand what you're signing off on. Very, very, very important. Once again, that's what I'm sharing with you today. And until tomorrow, we get to look at another best practice. I want you guys to be blessed and have a good day.